Today we're going to do a flight in the King Air 350i, and we're going to fly in Alaska in cold weather. So let's take a look at the weather chart here, and we're going to fly into Anchorage, and you can see that it doesn't look like there's much problems with visibility or rain, snow, etc. So let's bring up a little nav map, and we're going to fly from Dillingham into Anchorage. So this is a flight plan that we created using Microsoft Flight Plan and little nav map connected. So under Tools, you can connect to Flight Simulator, and you can fetch AI, and also connect automatically for Microsoft Flight Sim. So it's a free software you can download off the internet. These blue boxes mean these items have been checked off. So if you want to be able to see where the ILS runways are, make sure this is clicked. If you turn it off, you don't see the ILS feathers for the runways. So in order to create a flight plan, you just click here, and you can look. I'm just holding the mouse over there right now, but you can look and see that what the wind is like under NOAA station MEDAR information. So it's 60 knots, and it's blowing out of 020. And also you can see the preferred runway is runway 1. So that's what I've selected, runway 1. So once I right click on that, I can actually set that as a departure. And then all I have to do is click here to select the runway, and you just say OK. So that's how I got started. And then you're going to go over here to Anchorage. I'm going to zoom in on Anchorage, and once again hold your mouse over the airport icon right there. And once again you can see the winds are at 4 knots out of 070. And preferred runway is 7 left, 7 right. So I picked 7 right. So all you have to do there is right click there and say select that as the destination, and then you can ask for arrival procedures for runway 7, and you can select the approach for an ILS for 7 right. You can see that if I click on here. If you want it with the I there and you want 7 right, you can see up here it's an ILS approach. So you just right click on that, and then you just insert it. And so now I've got an inserted approach, and there's the missed approach where you go around to this waypoint and wait for instructions from air traffic control. So the next thing you want to do once you've done that, you make sure you have your altitude set and it's IFR. Then what you're going to do is click on here and ask it to adjust, and then you're going to say calculate, and it will calculate a flight plan. So now it will enter some waypoints, and you can see there's a lot of them here, and that will create a flight plan for you. So that's how you do it. Then you're going to click on altitude here, or elevation, and you can see that we're going to have to be up around 9,000. That's why I set 9,000. If you set 4,000, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to run into these mountains here, and it will not calculate the flight plan for you because you're flying too low. So you'd have to be over 6,500. Now you can scroll with your mouse, and then you can hold it and drag it. And you can see that this feather here, I'm just going to drag that again for you. See that feather there? When you descend, at top of descent, you want to come into this feather to pick up the ILS slope, 3%, and it's going to be a glide slope because it's an ILS approach. So I'm just going to close this window down for now, and we'll go back to Microsoft Flight Simulator and bring it up, and we're going to by the way, I forgot to mention, when you're in little nav map, once you've created this flight plan, hit save, and it will save the flight plan. And then you hit export flight plan to Microsoft Flight Sim, and you hit save, and it will save it. This is Dillingham up here, so it'll save it for you. And then once you've done that, I'll go back again. This is where you can go to load save down here, and you're going to load from this PC, and you're going to go find that folder that you saved your flight plan in, and there we have Dillingham, and you can open it, and now we have our flight plan. And you can see it's dark here currently because we're using real time and real weather. So show you how to turn the lights on in the aircraft, etc. So I selected to start from the gate. You do that in little nav map. You can just pick one of the gates and right click on it and say that's you want to start from a cold start from the gate. So I'm going to do ready to fly. So right now we're sitting at the gate. Go outside. You can't see very much here. It's pretty dark. I have these gauges turned on in my assist settings. You can turn on your exterior HUD view, heads up display. So when you're outside the aircraft, you can kind of monitor what's going on and enjoy the flight from the outside as well. So let's go back inside and go up here to the toolbar and hit checklist. So I'm going to walk you through this checklist, which is not very long for the King Air, which is a good thing, really. I mean, it's only Microsoft Flight Sim. It's not for the real world. So if you click on parking brake set and do evaluation,
parking brake set,
it'll find it for you
Power
in the
levers.
dark, which is nice. Those are the throttle
prop
levers.
RPM levers,
So these RPM levers have to be to maximum. So I'm just going to push them up.
max RPM, condition levers,
So the condition levers have to be fuel cutoff for starting.
fuel cutoff, battery switch,
The battery switch, we're just going to turn that on, and then we're going to have some power, and air traffic control is going to start talking to us.
on. Dillingham radio Necessaire 616 IFR to Anchorage, ready to copy.
There's our flight plan.
616 is cleared to Anchorage Airport as filed. Climb and maintain 6,000 feet. Departure frequency is 132.75 squawk 0623.
So they're saying 6,000 feet. Okay. So I'll just...
Necessaire 616 cleared to Anchorage Airport is filed. Climb and maintain 6,000 feet. Departure is 132.75 squawk 0623. Clearance void 30 minutes from now.
So in the settings,
Good day.
you can set up for Copilot to assist you by looking after the radio comms right here. So those will automatically be changed by the Copilot. So assistant settings in your options will get you that. So I'm going to turn off air traffic control right now, and we'll go to the next page for starting the engine, and once again we'll go through this checklist.
Right ignition and engine start.
I'll just
On.
turn that on.
Right condition lever.
Okay, right condition lever. What I'm going to do right now is turn on some lights. You can go overhead up here and turn these on. Control 8 will get you that. So right condition lever, let's just go down and find that. There's the left, there's the right.
Low idle when 12% N1 minute. ITT and
So you're
N1.
going to just monitor this and wait for this to stabilize at around 60 N1, and then you can just tick the item. Arctic item.
Monitor. Right oil pressure. Check. Right ignition and engine start.
Okay, so we're going to turn that off once the N1 gets up there, and you can see it's over 50 now, so we'll turn that off.
Off at 50% N1 or above. Right condition lever.
So now we have to turn the right condition lever to high idle.
High idle. Right generator.
So we're going to turn the right generator on.
On. Left engine start.
Okay, so now I'm going to let the co-pilot look after repeating the same procedure for the left engine. So I'm going to go overhead again, and I'm just going to turn some floodlights on a bit here. It's a little bit dark inside. There's your windshield wipers if you need them for rain or snow. Right, so you can see everything's starting up. I'm going to go outside. Still can't see a darn thing. So let's go inside and down here, turn on some lights here. Turn on our taxi lights. Ice. Okay, so we got just a caution here. That's because of the pitots aren't turned on yet. I'm going to turn them on. I'm going to turn the pitots on because it's cold out. It says it's minus 18 Celsius. Now, for those of you that like Fahrenheit, you can do a conversion, but that is cold. So you're going to need your, let's see what we got here, our ice protection on. And those pitots for sure. I'm going to turn this on. So this is our ice protection. So you're going to need that on because we could get ice buildup. Depends. If it's not raining or snowing, it's probably going to be okay. But you want those on anyway. So let's take a look at after starting engine. So
Avionics master
turn this
switch.
on. Turn on our avionics.
Lights.
We already have our lights on, but not all of them. So I'm just going to turn the rest of the lights on here. And
On.
see, we get a message
Parking
when we
brake.
get them all on. Now the parking brake, if I take that off, this aircraft's going to start to roll. Let's just go outside. We can see now. So we probably have to go backwards somewhere. So I'm not going to do a pushback. Shift P on your keyboard will give you a pushback. I'm just going to ignore that because these guys get in the way, the tugs and stuff. So I'm going to go inside and release the parking brake.
Release.
Okay, now you have to put your brakes on because this thing will start to roll immediately. So we've completed the basic checklist. There's a lot more to it in the real world, but that'll get us started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up a little nav map. So I'm not sure. I think they said we take off runway 1 or something, was it? Or departure? I'm not sure. Let's have a look here and see if they gave us a departure. Yeah, cleared to Anchorage as filed. So let's bring up a little nav map here. I'm just going to turn off ATC, and I'm going to bring up a little nav map here so we can see. And I'm going to zoom in, and you'll see our aircraft because I have aircraft centered and tracking on and show up in the picture. So let's zoom in here and see where we're sitting. So there's runway 1. So we would have to turn to the left and go down this way. So I'm going to close that window, downsize this, so you can see what we're doing here. So I have to turn to my left. I'm also going to close this window here. Alrighty, so let's go outside and see what we've got. Okay, both engines are going. Alright, let's start rolling here. Just going to release the brake. I'm just going to ignore things, but keep your speed down. But you can see how little nav map really helps you find your way around, because you wouldn't know where you were going necessarily in the dark, even though I have my taxi lights on. So it looks like I've got a building in front of me here. So you can see it's a little bit difficult in the dark finding your way around here. So now I have to go to my right. Let's brake here for a second. I go back inside. Little bit better. See? So we're going down the runway right now. I'll turn around, get ready to take off. So because I have this little box checked, it's centering the aircraft. So now I have to stop and turn around. And it's a little bit tight trying to turn right on the runway. Just have to apply your brakes while you're doing this. Use your yoke to turn and steer, and then apply brakes, and it'll help you make a tighter turn. So now I'm just going to try and line myself up in the center of the runway. So, little nav map's helping me here. It's pretty dark. Okay, so right here I'm going to stop. I'm going to put on the parking brake. And I'll have to shut the warning off because it gets a little noisy. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, so we've got to do a few things here. You want your parking brakes on. I want to set the flaps for takeoff. So I'm just going to hit the flaps there for takeoff. Yeah, so put it down to approach. And next thing I want to do is do some settings here. Our altitude, they said, was 6,000. So I'm just going to set my altitude to 6,000. Just by using my wheel on my mouse and holding the mouse over the ALT knob dial, I can scroll it and get 6,000. The other thing I want to do is set my vertical speed to climb. Now, you have to scroll down to climb up, and you watch here, you'll see this going up. So I'm just going to use my mouse once again and scroll on that wheel, and you can see that going up there. So I'm going to set it at 1500, which is 1500 right now. Now the other thing I want to do is I want to set my barometric pressure. So let's just see if it changes. It did. So now we're at the correct altitude here. This altitude gauge is working fine. This is your primary flight display. You got a compass here, you've got a speed gauge here, and you've got an altitude gauge here. So right now this is saying ROL, which is normal. Once we get going and we get the plane flying on autopilot, it'll be GPS. So I have to click on here, change this from VOR1, VOR2 to GPS. Now that's still on roll, but once we get going. So you can see vertical speed is on, you can see what it's set to. I'm just going to give you a closer look at that on this primary flight display. So your transponder is on, it's already set. You can do that in your assistant settings. You can also turn on your ident for additional identification of the aircraft. There's your waypoint you're going to fly to first, your bearing, your distance to that waypoint, your en route estimated time. So that would be estimated time en route, 3 minutes 32 seconds. Your ground speed right now is 0, and your tracking. Now if you want to get this heading bug lined up with the nose of the aircraft during flight at any time, I'll show you how you do that. If I press Control 2, back off a bit here, if I hit the heading dial, if I right click on that, you can watch this, it'll line right up with the nose of the aircraft. Okay, so now it's lined up with the runway. Let's see what else we've got to do here. I'm going to go back to the primary flight display, Control 1, and I'm going to click there again, and I'm going to bring up the split screen, and I'm going to go to Flight Plan, and I'm going to go to Nav 1. Alright, let's take a look at little nav map here and go to Anchorage, and once again we're going to scroll in. This will hold for a few minutes, or a few seconds I should say. So here's the runway we're going in. Put your mouse over that. See the frequency there? 111.30 megahertz. That's what you need to know for runway 07 right. 111.30. 111.30. Transfer that, not enter, transfer. It now becomes the active frequency. Now, if you want to bring up your flight plan, go to Flight Plan. Procedures will tell you your runway and how you're going to arrive. Flight Plan will show you your waypoints. You can use that little white bar there to drag things. So you can see 9,000 is where we should be going to. So I'm going to set this for 9,000 for takeoff instead of 6,000. Because that's what we picked for our flight plan. Now, if ATC has an issue with it, what I will do is ask for increased altitude from ATC. So let's go back to Control 2 and set the altitude for 9,000 then. All right. Now, what else can we do? Let's just double check here. Our pitots are on. Everything looks good. Our parking brake's on. Some of this stuff is auto ignition off. Like your prop test, some of this stuff is inoperative. And auto feather arm is inoperative. So just so you know, if that's in your checklist, assume it's been done. Alrighty. Let's go back to looking out the window. I think we're pretty much ready to go. So this is your flight control panel here. So I'm going to hit, when we get near, Flight Director, Autopilot, yaw damper. If you don't put the yaw damper on with the Autopilot, with the King Air you're going to get a yellow caution that it's not on. Altitude's going to be taken care of, so that'll be off. And approach is for when we approaching the runway where we're going to land. Our heading we're not going to use. Our nav we are. FLC we won't use. And vertical speed we have that on. Now another thing you can do here is you can change your to Fahrenheit or Celsius. And we can turn on this ELT, which is an emergency distress signal in case the plane goes down, so they can find us. I'm going to show you what I'm using to do this flight. If I press escape, I can go to controls. And you can make changes at any time during the flight if you want, but I'm going to be using a mouse, Microsoft mouse. I'm going to use a keyboard for some things. For example, G will bring up your landing gear or put it down on your keyboard. The letter B, Bravo, will set your barometric pressure. And then there's other settings like Shift P will do a pushback for you. So I'm going to now show you the joystick that I have. So I have this programmed here: spoilers, parking on, off, trim up, trim down. These two I don't have them set right now for anything in particular. That's for pause. And this will turn lights on or off, and taxi lights, and your internal view, push back, and gear up, gear down. Some of these I don't use because I have them on the throttle. But this is the flaps, up and down. This will center your view behind the aircraft, and one I reprogrammed as the brake for braking because I like to use that trigger for braking on landing. So let's look at now the throttle, which I have. So there's a number of these buttons I have programmed, like gear up, gear down, and lights on, off. This will do the engine conditioner levers. It'll bring them back to idle, low idle, or put them up full. And some of these other ones will turn lights on or off, air traffic control, so you can program these however you want. I've got this one for views. Control 8 would be overhead view, and Control 4, this one here, I've got 13 programmed for Control 4, which will give you a view down where your lights are, etc. And then 14 will take you outside, 12 will put you inside. So these are how this will turn autopilot, this button on and off. So you can program this however you want, but this actually throttle works pretty good in conjunction with the Thrustmaster joystick. So it's very easy to set these. You just do a search for example, toggle brakes, and you type that in there, or toggle internal view, external view, whatever, and then you can select your input. So you can play around with that, but there's all your things you can set. So let's go back and resume our flight, and we're ready to go. I'll take you outside for a second. Remember I said if one of those buttons on my throttle, that's the one that gives me this view, and taxi lights can be turned off now. Or you can turn them off just after you take off. So let's go outside and have a look here for a second. So you can see my flaps are down, even though it's pretty dark here. I'm going to line this up so you can see, and we're going to go full throttle and take off. So when this gets to around 100, the plane's going to want to lift off. So I'm going to take off the parking brake. Watch your speed. Okay, so we should be able to lift off now. just pull back gently on the throttle. Okay, load side, can't see very much. So let's put up the landing gear. And let's bring up the flaps. Okay, let's go Control 2. And let's back off here a bit, and we're going to put on flight director, autopilot, yaw damper, nav, and this should be on. Okay, so just go through that one more time. You can see that we're now on GPS, autopilot, yaw damper, vertical speed up 1500. So watch your airspeed here. You don't want to get into over torque here. Your ITTs look good, your props look good, and you can see you're following the flight plan. So once again, flight director is on, autopilot's on, yaw damper's on. Altitude is not on right now because we haven't reached 9,000 feet. Approach isn't on, heading's not on, but you can line that up with the nose of the aircraft, which I just did. Nav is on. FLC mode, we don't have that on, but we have the vertical speed mode on. This button shows off because I have this one on over here. So we're following our flight plan quite nicely. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put these on low idle. Those are the engine conditioners, so let's put them back to low idle for the flight. Okay, so it looks like we're doing okay here, and not much to see outside because it's pretty dark. We'll take the outside, make sure the lights are on. So alright, let's go inside again for a second. Okay, so barometric pressure, once again, we're going to just check that. Just change slightly, you can see. Let's go to the multifunctional display screen. Okay, so you can see the waypoint, the bearing. Distance to that waypoint is 7.8 nautical miles. Estimated time en route, only 2 minutes. Ground speed, we're clipping right along here at 208, and we're tracking a 62 magnetic north. So our torque there is a little bit high. I'm just going to cut back the throttle a bit. Just bring back my throttle slightly. And let's go back and have a look again. Yeah, so that's a little better. And the internal turbine temperature's fine. The props look good. So there's your N1 for both of the engines. Looks good at 91.2. Our oil pressure is fine. Our oil temperature is fine. Our fuel flow is good. So let's just go have a look at our fuel. Okay, there's our fuel quantity. This is over here. Fuel cross is off. And this is the position for these switches here. This one's inoperative. This one should be on auto. That's inoperative, and this one here is in auto as well. So some fuses here, and that's just flashing because we turned that on. All right, let's center the aircraft up again. So those are things that we're going to be checking during the flight. So once again, if you want to make sure your flaps are up, you can see they are. And your landing gear, you can check that that's up. Now if you want to move around, if you hold the Alt key down and use the arrow keys, arrow right, you can actually move over to the co-pilot's view. And I'm just going to use my mouse and grab it, and we can look down here. This is where you would set the temperatures, the internal temperatures, the heat for for the aircraft, and it's all inoperative, so don't worry, that's taken care of for you. If you brought your propellers down to here, you'd feather them, so you don't want to do that. You don't want to bring your engine condition levers down to fuel cutoff because you shut the engine off. This would feather the engine to reduce drag, and that would be if there was an engine failure. For example, if the left engine failed, you'd cut off the fuel and you'd put this into feather to reduce the drag, and then the plane would fly very nicely on one engine. You'd be able to land it. So I'm just going to use my mouse here, and I'm just going to go back using the Alt key and the arrow keys. Now I'm going to use the Shift key, hold it down, and the arrow keys, and now we can get a little bit of a look at the aircraft. Yeah, the lights are off back there. So you can scroll around, look out the windows using those arrow keys. And here's our overhead. Passenger cabin light. Overhead lighting, avionics brightness, instruments. So you can adjust these lights to however you want them. Our floodlights can go up a little bit if we want. Let's go back down again. Okay, let's go Shift. Okay, so we got the lights on in the back now. So if I line up with the captain's seat, use my Alt key and the arrows, I can actually sometimes move over to where I can get a view. Yeah, that's not letting me do it right now, so. There we go. Now, so I'm just using my arrow keys and my Alt and my Shift key to get the view. So you can actually line that up a little bit better using the Alt and the arrow keys. Then you can use your mouse, scroll in and grab with your right button, and you can get a little bit of a look at what it looks like in the back of the aircraft. Okay, I'm going to use my Shift and arrow keys again and go around front. Okay. And center up my view. I'm just going to go outside and take a look at the wings here. Just trying to see if there's any ice building up on the aircraft. I don't see anything. Okay, so I'm going to go back inside the aircraft. Now I'm going to bring up a little nav map. See where we're at in this flight, how much further we have to go here. Yeah, so we got a ways to go here. So I will shorten this flight up. Everything's following nicely, so all the settings are correct. So what we're going to do is fly this route, and then I'll cut some of it out so it's not so long. Maybe pick it up when it gets around here. And that'll shorten the video considerably. By the way, let me just bring this up, bring up the flight plan. So this will open the flight plan window. So it says this is a 2-hour and 25-minute flight and 300 nautical miles. So that's a pretty long flight. So if you want to cut out a lot of this, you can go forward in time. So let's give that a try. That's for your fuel. That's your weather. And that's travel. So we're going to travel to descent. And I'm just going to cut back my speed. And travel forward in time. Okay, so we've traveled forward in time now to shorten this flight. You can see the sun's starting to come up because I said travel forward in time as well. So when you hit ready to fly, when you travel forward in time, what you have to do is put on pause. You have to put pause on and check a few things. Yeah.
Anchorage Center Nasser 616 is type Beechcraft King Air 9 miles south of 9 Alpha Kilo Tree 9,800 feet. Request clearance to transition Charlie airspace.
Nasser 616 Anchorage Center. Squawk 2375.
Squawk 2375, Nasser 616.
Nasser 616 radar contact 9 miles south of 9 Alpha Kilo Tree 9,800 feet. Clear to the Charlie airspace. Maintain on navigation.
Cleared through the Charlie airspace, Nasser 616.
Okay, so now we can retry our flight plan.
Anchorage Center Nasser 616 9 miles south of 9 Alpha Kilo Tree. Request IFR to Anchorage, ready to copy.
Nasser 616 is cleared to Anchorage Airport as filed. Squawk 2375.
Nasser 616 cleared to Anchorage Airport as filed. Squawk 2375.
Nasser 616 read back correct. Radar contact 9,800 feet. Altimeter tree 0.08, turn left, heading 235, descend and maintain 9,000 feet.
Turn left heading 235, descend and maintain 9,000 feet, Nasser 616.
Okay, so what we need to do is, now that we've got that straightened out, is set this altitude to 9,000 feet. You can see we're at 9,800. That's what happened when we went forward. So I'm just going to set that to 9,000. So let's take a look at this warning here. So the autopilot's not on, so that went off when we travel forward in time. So I'm just going to go back up here. So we're going to turn that on. We're going to turn autopilot on, yaw damper on. The nav's got to be on, and vertical speed has got to be down.
Nasser 616, please expedite your descent 9,000 feet.
Okay, and our barometric pressure, let's just make sure that's correct. Okay, so we should be able to continue our flight now. So let me just take a look at some stuff here. Make sure the flaps didn't get touched. This is still on low idle, which is good. The props, we can cut them back just a bit. So let's have a look here at where we are on little nav map. Okay, see now we're pretty darn close. We should be following our flight plan. I just want to bring up our altitude, elevation. You can see where we're at here. Okay, we're back here. So we're pretty good. We're at 9,000 feet. There's top of descent when we're going to start descending right here. See if I hold my mouse, you can see that blue circle. So we're in pretty good shape here. So that's how you can cut out a lot of the in-between stuff unless you want to do the whole flight yourself. But you'll have to follow those steps, pause and do some resettings because they get lost when you travel forward. Alright, so this is looking good. Just going to close that. And just monitor things basically. Make sure this stuff's all looking good. Our torque is fine. But you want to make sure your speed doesn't get too slow. Once you level off, you'll start losing speed because when you're descending, you're picking up speed so you can cut your throttle back. But then once it levels off, of course, you need to maintain your speed. So I want to be going around 200. Let's have a look outside. Okay, so we've got the sunset, or sunrise I should say, over Anchorage. It's kind of pretty. And of course it's winter time, so the sun doesn't get too high in the sky up here. And let's take a look at the temperature. Outside the aircraft, it's minus 15 still. Okay, so let's see if we've got any ice on the wings or anything. No, because there's no precipitation, you're not getting snow and ice building up or anything. So, oh, that's a nice view of the moon there. So real time, real weather. Very realistic.
Nasser 616. Goodbye. Anchorage Center, Nasser 616, 9,000 feet.
So we just switched our comm.
Nasser 616, Anchorage Center, altimeter 30.08 radar contact, continue.
So our barometric pressure's okay. Alright, continue.
Nasser 616, you are 2.9 miles west. Descend and maintain 2,000 feet. Expect ILS runway 7 right approach by
Going down to 2,000 feet. So I'm going to set this to 2,000.
Raven Flight 500, contact Anchorage departure on 118.6. Good day.
Descend and maintain 2,000 feet. Expect ILS runway 7 right approach via Echo November Alpha. Transition clear to Echo November Alpha and SR 616.
So that was just scrolled down to 2,000.
Contact Anchorage approach on 118.6.
Vertical speed down.
Good day.
Cut back on your throttle.
Going to 118.6, Nasser 616. Anchorage approach Nasser 616 is at 8,900 feet, descending 2,000 feet.
Anchorage departure Raven Flight 500.
I'm going to hit the heading bug there. Bring that around.
Nasser 616 Anchorage approach altimeter 30.09 radar. Contact
Okay,
continue
I'm
to
going
Echo
to
November
change that.
Alpha.
I'm going to hit the barometric pressure.
Raven Flight 500.
Set it.
Anchorage departure altimeter 30.09 radar. Contact.
So watch your airspeed when you're descending.
Raven Flight 500, contact Anchorage Center on 125.7. Good day.
So you can see we're descending at 2,200 feet per minute.
125.7, Raven flight 500.
I'm just going to bring up the nav map for you to have a look. So here we are. Right here is our plane down below in the elevation window, and you can see we're headed into that feather. So when we get right about here is when we should be picking up the glide slope. And up here you can see our aircraft. So we're going to be turning. It looks like there's other aircraft lining up ahead of us. Actually, it looks like there's 3 of them. This one's at 3,000 feet. This one's at 5,000 feet. And these ones are landing. So I'm not, even if they give us a go around, I'm just going to land anyway. Looks like this is FedEx flights. Looks like FedEx is busy this morning. Okay.
Mass Air 616 descend and maintain 2,500 feet.
2,500 now. Okay, let's go
Descend
back.
and maintain 2,500 feet in SR 616.
Okay, I'm going to change this to 2,500. I don't know why they did that, but anyway, that's fine. You see this green diamond here? That's going to drop down and line up. And you can see we're on localizer now. So it switched from GPS to localizer on its own. It's because we've picked up the localizer signal from the runway. And now this is switched up. And now we're chasing this needle and trying to line this needle up with the runway. So you can see the plane's moving just slightly to the left to pick up that needle. And that needle will come over and line up. This diamond will start to drop. So I'm going to hit approach. If you don't hit approach, you're not going to pick up the glide slope. You're going to fly right through it without picking it up, intercepting it. I'll let you see a little nav map again so you can see where we're at. Okay, here we are. We're going to fly into this green feather and pick it up probably at Tully, that waypoint there. Okay. Everything's looking good. You can see that the localizer is lined up pretty accurate. We're a little bit off to the left now, but it should correct itself. Got a plane right in front of us. I don't know if we can see it out the window. Yeah, there it is. There's another one. So got a good view. So I'm going to put down some landing gear now. You want your speed to be down below 160. So I'm going to put down the landing gear. Just press G on your keyboard. And I'm going to put down some flaps as well.
Tower on 118.3 SR
So just put
616.
some flaps down.
Anchorage
Initially,
Tower SR
put them down to
616, 13
approach
miles
for
west
now.
inbound, ILS runway 7 right approach.
Okay, we're lined up pretty good here. If you hit the space bar, you'll be able to see a little better. But bottom line is I want my speed to be up around 135 for approach. So don't let your speed get too low. This diamond's going to start dropping soon. And then we'll start descending.
Anchorage Tower SR 616 inbound, ILS runway 7 right approach.
I'll take the autopilot off just before we land. Make sure, once again, we have our frequency set, which we did, and you want to check that if you want. The nav is off because this approach
Cleared
is
ILS
on.
runway 7 right approach, NASAir
Vertical
616.
speed's off because we're at 2,500.
121.9 generic 107. Goodbye.
Okay, so autopilot's on, flight director's on. And I'm going to get my speed back. And then I'll put some more flaps down. Full flaps for landing. Alright, we're good to land, I believe. So watch your speed, see what happened there as soon as I put those flaps down. Just go outside for a second. See what we're looking at. Full flaps, landing gear down. Landing lights are on. We're coming in pretty good here. Okay, I'll cut back my speed a bit with the throttle. Okay, I'm just going to go inside. It's pretty dark. It's a little hard to see that runway. It doesn't look like it's lit up very well to me. Maybe when we get closer it'll look better. Yeah, okay, so you saw that warning we just got flashing, our altitude? That's because we picked up the glide slope. That green diamond had dropped down. I don't know if you were watching it, but that's what happened. And we get a green G and a glide slope with GS there. Still on localizer, autopilot, yaw damper. And the runway's right here. So we are descending right now on the glide slope. Okay, so we're not getting to go around. Okay, we're cleared to land runway 7.
Cleared to land runway 7 right, Nasser 616.
Okay.
Anchorage Tower, Cargolux 5325, heavy 12 miles west, inbound ILS runway 7 left approach. Cargolux 5325.
So watch your airspeed. You don't want to get below 100. You can keep it around 110 for landing. You can see we're still descending nicely here. We're actually at 1,000 feet above the ground, right, or the runway elevation. So, see the barometric pressure there? I'm going to check that one more time. So it just changed. I have a bit of an effect on this gauge right here. So you want that to be accurate. So I'm just going to keep it around 113. 110. So I'll take it outside so you can see what it looks like. I'm going to put reverse thrust on once I land. Slows the aircraft down really nicely. So I'm just going to use the heading bug here and get it lined up with the aircraft. There we go. Okay, we're at 500 now. So I'm going to take it off autopilot and yaw damper. And land the aircraft myself. Watch your airspeed.
Cargolux 5325, heavy wind, calm cautions. The Beechcraft King Air landing runway 7 right. Cleared to land runway 7 left. Cleared to land runway 7 left, Cargolux 5325 heavy.
Okay, cut back your throttle. Down. Put reverse thrust on. Okay. Okay, take reverse thrust off. Okay, so let's just go outside and see what we can see here. Okay, so I'm going to bring up the flaps. Get in the center of the runway. Now if you're rendering the boat reverse thrust, I've got it reverse thrust hold. So if you do a search under your settings, yeah, if you go to control options and toggle, you can set a button for reverse thrust. So I'll take you inside the aircraft and I'll show you what it looks like. So if I pull the button on my throttle back, which is set for reverse thrust, I'll just show you what happens here. So it'll go into reverse thrust right there because I'm holding the button. And you have to give it some throttle or else it won't work. So I'll take it outside again, and once I release that button, the reverse thrust is off. So when you put reverse thrust on, you have to push the throttle forward in order for the propellers to spin in reverse. There comes another plane in on the other runway. What a beautiful sight. Yeah, really, Microsoft Flight Sim, this has done an excellent job. I mean, this is very realistic, especially when you're using real-time, real weather. So I'm just going to get off right here. Hopefully they'll be okay with me. Put my taxi lights on. Let's just turn off here. Okay, so I'm going to put on the parking brakes.
Goodbye.
Yeah, so we'll just put the parking brake on here for a second. And I'm going to have to shut that warning off. Okay, so let's turn on the taxi lights. Landing lights, we'll leave those on. Okay, so the landing lights went off, I think, when I landed, but I'll turn them back on. It's pretty dark out. All right, let's see if we can get a gate.
Anchorage ground Nasser 616 taxi to the gate.
Nasser 616 taxi to gate Bravo 6 using taxiway hotel cross runway 7 left hotel kilo cross runway 3 kilo golf echo 1.
So we're going to gate B6.
Taxiing to gate Bravo 6 via taxiway hotel cross runway 7 left hotel kilo cross runway 3 kilo golf echo 1 Nasser 616.
Okay, I'm just going to bring up a little nav map for you. So there we are, gate B6. Let's see where that's at. Right there. So we're going to have to go up, over, and in like that. So I'm going to let you watch that while we are taxiing here. So just close down ATC, bring up a little nav map again for you. Hold that right there. Okay, so I have to release the parking brake, which I just did. It's off. And we'll start to roll. See that aircraft up ahead there? You can see it's an Alaska flight.
Nasser 616 hold position caution for departing generic.
Hold position Nasser 616.
Nasser 616 continue taxi. Nasser 616 hold position caution for departing generic.
Hold position Nasser 616.
Wow, look at the planes lined up to take off here.
Anchorage ground Everett
Wow.
Requesting pushback.
Okay, we're going to go across here.
872 pushback request accepted. Nasair 616, continue taxi.
Roger, Nasair 616.
Just going to see where I have to go here to get a better look at things. With a little map here. Okay. A little hard to see in the dark.
FedEx 157, hold position, caution, other traffic. Hold position, FedEx 157. Anchorage ground, Everett 872, requesting the end of pushback.
I can see, you can see the gate we're going to over here.
Anchorage ground, Everett 872, with whiskey ready to taxi IFR. Everett 872, taxi 2, and hold short of runway 7 left using taxiway Echo Tree Echo Mike Romeo Lima, cross runway Tree Lima Yankee Kilo Hotel.
Well,
Contact tower on 118
Anchorage is
Echo
busy
Tree when
this
ready.
morning. I don't know if those are all FedEx planes or what. Look at the planes coming off here. Look. Wow.
Taxi 2 and hold short runway 7 left via taxiway Echo Tree Echo Mike Romeo Lima, cross runway Tree Lima Yankee Kilo Hotel, Everett 872.
Now, when Microsoft Flight Sim, if you go right up to these planes, they sort of just disappear.
Everett
Get
872,
in behind
hold
these
position,
guys.
caution, other traffic. Hold position, Everett 872. FedEx 5132, hold position, caution the beach trafficking air on the taxiway.
Gee, they're giving us priority here. Okay, we're getting close to where
FedEx
we need to be.
5132, continue taxi. FedEx 20, hold position, caution the beach trafficking air on the taxiway.
All right.
FedEx 20, continue taxi.
I
FedEx
think
20, hold position, caution
our
the beach
spot is
trafficking
right
air on the
here.
taxiway.
Here we go. Here's our parking spot.
Continue taxi.
I don't know if there's anybody in there to direct us in or not.
Roger, FedEx
Yep.
20.
All right, let's put on the parking brake. And shut off the alarm. Okay, so we're going to shut her down. Let's go to a basic shutdown. The real world's a lot more things you have to do, but for Microsoft Flight Sim, this will pretty much do it. Put your engine conditioners to fuel cutoff. I'm going to put these down to feather. And throttle down. I'm going to, once again, there's just a caution for us. So I'm just going to shut that off. Alright, so our pitots, we're going to turn them off and turn all this stuff off. There's our ice protection. All our lights, I can turn them off as well. So I'm just going to turn off the lights.
FedEx 157, continue taxi.
Okay, so they're all off. And we can go to
Roger, Everest 872.
avionics, our battery, generators, and that's pretty much it. It should shut things down pretty good. The overhead lights I turned off. All you have to do is hit that switch on or off, but right now with the battery and everything off, they're not working. So let's go outside. Avionics is off and see what it looks like. Okay, so the engines are shut down, and then basic things have been done to prepare this aircraft for shutdown. Okay. Thank you very much, Flight Simmers, for joining me on this flight. I hope you learned something about flying the King Air in cold weather. Remember, like I said, if you don't have that de-ice protection on in the pitots, your air gauge and your altitude gauge may not work properly. So in order to keep those from freezing up and giving you false information, make sure you have your de-ice on in cold weather. Okay, thank you very much. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and I hope to catch you next time, Flight Simmers. Flying the King Air 350i, one of my favorite aircraft in Microsoft Flight Sim.